Hey guys, this week on the Small Town Big Talk Show, I'm coming at you solo. I am just coming off of a few small town women's events in these small communities, and I learned a lot of things. And I am not trying to say that I can rival Oprah here at all, but I have come to feel like I know a few things about small towns. And so the name of this episode is The 10 Things That I Know for Sure about small towns. I recently was in the communities of Warren, Minnesota, Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, and Rugby, North Dakota. We did, they were all three events were different. They weren't exactly the same. But I love and treasure my time with these women in small towns so freaking much. And there are obvious themes. There are obvious things that all three communities have in common. And I know that I feel like I have that I have those things in common, or I see those things in my own community. So I wanted to share with you these 10 things that, and with the hope of two things, I guess. One is to hopefully, again, make you, as usual, is to hopefully make you feel less crazy. Like the things you feel like you're seeing in your small town, that you're not the only one that feels that way. Because I get that there is some loneliness and some isolation that can creep in at times. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is that I really, really want to help you see what's possible, help you see what's doable, help you try new things, inspire you to spark something new or try something different, or if it's starting a club or starting a group or joining a whatever. I want you to know that it's possible, even in a small town. And so without further ado, I'm going to share these 10 things. And I can't wait to hear what you all think of these things. There's no question that these are themes that ring true across the communities that I visit. So the first thing, we rarely view our small towns the same as an outsider does. So I had never been to Rugby, North Dakota, for example. And when I went there, and I don't know if it's because I'm looking for the cool things, but I had to keep telling them, like, you guys, you've got it going on in this community. So here's what I encourage you to do. And I'm going to tell you this is a tip that came to me way back when I was in banking, way back when I was in financial services. And I had done a training with the Disney Institute. They sent a rep up to the Fargo area, and one of the things they talked about was going on a tour of your business. And so this would be the same in a small town, going on a tour of your business as if you were an outsider. So because we get really used to things just being the way that they are, right? So you go in the back, you use the employee entrance at your business, and you walk through that same back hallway. And so you're not ever walking into your business the way that an outsider or a visitor customer actually does. Well, the same holds true for our small towns, right? Do you ever drive into your community from all avenues? Like my community can actually be accessed. You can come into the community proper from all four cardinal directions. Obviously, the main thoroughfares, there's only a couple. But if you do that and you really look around, you're going to see things differently. You're maybe not going to like all the things that you see. This also will open your eyes to some things that maybe could be improved. But that's how we look out for one another. So see what this sparks in you, the idea of looking at your community as though you were an outsider. So that's number one. Number two, I heard from several business owners in actually all of the communities, this mindset that they feel that their local patrons have, that if it's an important thing and it's the thing that they need at either a service provider or a store in their community, if it's something important, then they need to go out of town to get it. And I really, this mindset, this idea that that's how our local business owners might feel, is that the little things here and there we can use local people for, but if it's something important, we need to go out of town to get it. It came up more than one time, and so I felt like it was worth acknowledging that is apparently a feeling that many of our small business owners feel, and how truly important it is to shop local, support local. If they don't have what you need in your store, or in their store, like you need something for an event or whatever, ask if it can be ordered. It's kind of incredible the resources that are available to our small stores, but we don't think about asking them to order it. But we've got to also remember, they can't stock every line available to them, right? Because not only are they limited by geography and demographics and all those things, but it's costly. But that doesn't mean they can't access it. So I encourage you, when you're thinking about something and you think, oh, I'll just go out of town for it. I really urge you to stop and think, what if I just asked? What if they could order it? It's possible. Okay. Number 3, women and friendships. Oh, this is tricky. And I talk a lot to women about communication and friendships and relationships. Sometimes friendships are going to require initiative. And so the last community that I was just in, we were talking about how painful it can be to not be included. And one woman in the one session talked about that she feels like there are times when she gets asked a number of times to do something, and if she has to turn them down, then eventually she stops being asked. And she was feeling kind of bad about that. And so we simply talked about the fact that the easiest thing to do then is to take initiative and text maybe one of the people involved in the group and just say, hey, I know I've turned you guys down a lot, but if you guys get together again, I sure would love to be a part of it, right? We often sit back and we expect other people to take the initiative, and sometimes we need to be the ones. Just say, like, maybe you want to do something, or you want to go out, you want to get together. Take the initiative. Be the one to start it instead of constantly waiting for somebody else to either pick up the phone or start the group text. Okay? Number 4, let's talk for a second about small town gossip. The truth is, the thing I know for sure about small towns is that unless they are a nestie, which, if you know me, that's the people in the nest with you, right? The close relationships. Unless they are in the nest, in your nest, it is quite possible that you don't know the whole story. We all have pain. That's something that I just think it's universal, and like logically, we all know that. But when a rumor starts to fly about somebody else, it's so easy to grab onto it and say, oh, this is juicy, and oh, isn't this crazy? And either pass judgment or do the feigned concern thing, which a lot of us in small towns do. And all I encourage you to do is, if you really want to be of service to that person, either find out the full story from them and ask how you can support them, or just keep your thoughts to yourself about it. I know it's easier said than done, but this was, again, a theme. Thematically, it came up in all 3 of these small town events. Number 5, your community needs your beautiful service. Now, here's the thing. I love to talk to women in small communities about commitment burnout. And the reason is because most of the women that come to the events that I bring to a small town are ambitious. They're go-getters. They're the ones that get things done. And so if you follow the 80-20 rule, they're part of the 20% that does 80% of the work. So these are the women that are always saying, sure, I'll bring a pan of bars, which we always joke about. In Detroit Lakes, we totally joked about that. Warren, too. We were going to actually make a shirt that said, no more bars. Like, I'm not making bars anymore. Make bars if you want to. But I'll make a pan of bars, or I'll lead that committee, or sure, I'll coach, or sure, I'll ref, or sure, I'll do this. All of those things are lovely if it comes from a place that's in full alignment with who you are, what you value, and what you care about. Does it support your gifts? Does it allow you to show up and be a good steward of the things that you've been given? That's what beautiful service looks like. And far too often, we find ourselves saying yes and then being actually, frankly, kind of pissed off. We're pissy and we're, cranky about it. And like you're in your car on your way to the thing that you said yes to that you really don't want to be a part of. And that's on us. We have to take responsibility for that. So reserve your best yes. Your community needs beautiful service. And my friend Beth from Detroit Lakes, when I had her on the talk show, she used the phrase joyful participation. It's all the same. Okay, number 6. In small towns, we don't cheer each other on enough. So I've often talked about just the reasons for that. I always ask the crowds of women that I'm speaking to, what's the reason that we don't cheer each other on? And time and time again, I hear, well, we don't want to look like we're bragging. We don't want everybody to think that we think we're better. And I think that's crap. I think it's total BS. I think that it should be, I want to be a part of a group of people, a community of people that when I win, they cheer. When they win, I cheer. Like we cheer each other on. So one of the things that I encourage you to do is maybe think of the people in your community that are either doing cool things, maybe they're running businesses that you really love, whatever, they're doers. So let's celebrate the doers. And my favorite way to do that is to send handwritten notes. So this week, as you're thinking about this episode and you're thinking about the people that have done things that have made a difference to you in your community, send them a handwritten letter. Let's celebrate one another and just be more intentional about that. I think it's sorely missed in small towns. Number 7, there is literally untapped potential in every little corner. Yes, even in your small town. So this is one of the things I love the most about getting to go and speak in these small communities. So we talk about things like all the things we've talked about so far, like, figuring out who you really are, what really lights you on fire, what are your gifts, what are your desires, what are your values, what are the things you love and care about, and is there a way to cultivate more of that in your life? Well, inevitably, I end up having women that come up and they talk to me and they share with me their dreams. They share with me their sparks. They share with me the things that they wish that they could nurture more of in their lives. And so here are just a handful of things. Now, again, I shared the 3 communities I was just recently in. There was a woman that is really interested in kickboxing. And again, has maybe started something, didn't really have a lot of traction, but she's not sure. So maybe a pivot's required in there, right? There was a girl, a young lady that I talked to that had moved to this very small town that had formal training as a dancer. She went to school for it. And now she's in this small town and she doesn't use it at all. And she said, I know I need to figure that out. There was the same with a gal that wants to start yoga classes. And finally, there was a woman that is a painter. She's actually a painter. This is something that she does and hasn't been doing enough of it because there's just not an outlet for it. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because you have no idea what untapped or hidden potential exists in your community. And yet I know that it's there. So it's simply a matter of, if you have something like that on your heart, asking a few people, just saying, hey, what if we got together and did this? What would that look like? I think sometimes we make things way too big of a deal than they have to be to start. And truly, it's simply a matter of finding one other person that shares that same thing and then looking for ways to create opportunities to do it or use it or nurture it in your small town. There's ideas. They exist. And I'm just saying, don't be lazy. Don't be lazy about it. If there's something you really feel like you're missing in your life, find a way to nurture it, even in your small community. And then speaking of that, the next thing, number 8, number 8, revolutions don't require hundreds of people. You can start a revolution with an idea of your own if you find one other person who thinks it's a great idea. You cannot underestimate the power of 2 like-minded people pooling their resources, time, energy, and passions together to bring something to life. I think sometimes we think that we have to get an enormous groundswell of people, and really you can get a lot accomplished if you find just one person. So if you've got some big idea or thought on your heart, mind, or your soul, and it's burning and yearning and it doesn't want to seem to let go, it's because it was given to you for a reason, friend. So find one other person that you can share it with that will partner with you and start your own little mini revolution. It's pretty dang cool. Okay, number 9. Women are still largely underrepresented in small town government. Now, I'm not going to get political here at all, but I simply want to point something out that I found kind of interesting. So 2 of these 3 communities, Warren, Minnesota, and Rugby, North Dakota, both of them have a female mayor. I had the pleasure of meeting both of their mayors at these separate events, and I've talked about this a little bit. I don't know 100% the reason for the underrepresentation of women in small town government. But here's what I want to do. I want to encourage everybody to just think about the fact that women are doers. My friend Megan, in a previous episode, it was episode 20, was it 24 of the Small Town Big Talk Show? she talked about the fact that when she works with small communities, she dislikes the phrase community leaders. And she says, bring me the community doers. And she flat out said, 9 times out of 10, the majority of the doing is being done by women. So again, I speak with all women, and I just think, man, how do we change that? Is it the fact that they're being overlooked, or is it the fact that they're not raising their hands? I think it's probably a combination, right? So here's what I encourage. If you are interested in any level of serving in some capacity, let's say it's economic development, or it's city council or county commission, or maybe you want to be the mayor, or maybe you want to be on the school board, the first thing to do is to just start from a place of curiosity, because it's going to be really hard to earn a spot in any of those capacities if you don't know anything about what the organizations really do, right? I think you can say, what's a school board do? And you'll get 50 different answers as far as what that really ought to be. So start from a place of curiosity. Go to their meetings, ask questions, be curious, be a learner, and be willing to look stupid right away, because you will. You don't know what you're doing, and that's okay. But after you do that and you start to be present for some of these things, you're going to be seen as somebody who's really invested in the topic. And that's what's important. So I encourage you, if you do feel that way, to get yourself involved, because we could really shift things in our small towns if more women were involved at that level. And the last thing, number 10, is I just want to gently remind every single one of you listening to this, if you're still with me in small towns, that there really are definitely things to do in your small town. I promise you there are things to do. And what I want to really encourage you and challenge you even, I'll say, to take on as you go about your week is the next time that something gets brought to your community, even if it doesn't feel like your thing, it doesn't feel like your people, it doesn't feel like it's a good fit somehow for you, if it's something different and new, what if you just went and tried it? Because the whole thing is, there are a lot of people that are in every community that I visit. There's these people that want to do cool things and they want to bring cool things to town. But if they've done it or tried it in the past and they get low turnout, it's really hard to keep the momentum going on some of those things. And so instead of saying there's nothing to ever do here, why don't we instead try to support the things that do? Because that creates momentum in and of itself. It's, again, I say this a lot, but it isn't hard to be the type of person that points out everything that's wrong. It takes much more resolve and strength of character and determination and fortitude and all the things to point out not only what's wrong, but also offer up some possible solutions and decide to be a part of that solution. And I can't tell you how encouraged I am, not just for the small towns that I visited, in Warren, Minnesota, Rugby, North Dakota, and Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. Your communities are fantastic. The women that I got to meet, you were all wonderful. I'm heartened and excited for you and your communities, but I get really excited about what that means for me here in my small town as well. And as always, I'm open to all of your feedback, all of your ideas about what other people that we could highlight, things that we need to talk about on this talk show. And the last thing I'll leave you with today is just to remember this, that if you want a small town women's event like the 3 communities did here, reach on out to me. Let's talk about what that could look like. It really is the best work that I get to do. It's my favorite work that I get to do. And I would love to be the outsider to come in and remind you that you really do have it going on. And I promise you that even though sometimes it doesn't feel like it, there are things to celebrate. There are things to be proud of. You just have to be willing to look for them. So have a great day, you guys. Let me know what you think of today's episode. And as always, keep on living big in your small town.